Welcome to the Arizona Republic Election Show, where we bring you inside the newsroom to talk about the people and the issues driving the 2018 midterm elections. A couple of months ago, we talked to independent voters. These are the voters who will help decide which candidates win and which candidates lose. We wanted to gauge their attitudes on candidates and the ballot measures. We wanted to also check back in with them after the primary election to get a sense of what their mood is heading into the general election. Here's what they had to say.
Hi, I'm Ron Hansen for AZ Central, and we've brought back our independent voter panel from this summer. Thank you all for rejoining us here today. We wanted to go over sort of where you're at, what you're thinking as we get close to the time to cast ballots. Let's jump right in again. Who plans to vote? Show of hands. All of you, good. And do you feel ready to vote now, or is there more that you need to do to get comfortable to cast your ballot?
A little bit of digging I have to do still. Propositions especially are going to be the big thing. Got to read the fine print. Don't just read the little blurb that you get out of the legislature as to what this pertains to.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Ken?
I agree. I think I'm pretty well settled as far as the candidates are concerned, but the propositions I need to study through a little bit.
Okay.
Who's sponsoring the propositions and what is their agenda?
Mm-hmm.
And then find out what's right for the state. But yeah, as far as candidates, that was decided long ago.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I got my candidates sorted.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So how much have your views of the issues or the candidates have changed since we brought you in July? Has everything sort of stayed the same, or has it been pretty fluid?
For me, I guess as the campaign has gone along and as nasty as it has gotten, has really affected my opinions, because I've made a personal commitment that if there is negative personal attacks, I don't care if I chose them to begin with, that it makes me rethink voting for them. The issues are difficult. Red for Ed had a big impact on candidates that survived the primaries, so that had a big effect. But mostly I'm just disappointed with the negativity of this election.
Right.
I'm also very disappointed that Red for Ed basically had the rug pulled out from under it, with its proposition being pulled out like that.
So that proposition won't appear on the ballot. Is there anything that you plan to do as a result of that? Are you taking it out on anybody in particular, or is that just something
that factors into who I vote for?
Okay. Angelica?
Well, two things. So the first thing that kind of concerns me when it comes to the whole aspect of campaigning is I think it's such a weird tactic to try to appeal to moderates. I think that a lot of candidates do that, and I don't get that, because moderates are moderate. They don't have an opinion on anything. How do you campaign to somebody that doesn't have an opinion? That doesn't make any sense to me. And I think that's why so many people are still alienated about the process, because you're appealing to people who in some regard just need to do their own independent research, and you can't really force those people to sway either way because they are moderates. That's kind of what makes them like that. So that's one thing. The second thing, to address your question about what are you doing when it comes to the Red for Ed movement, any other type of maybe ballot that we feel should have been, focused on. Well, I do a lot of nonprofit work, so I'm not just oh wow, that's unfortunate. So I'm working a lot, and I'm trying to get out there and not just have people be focused on this issue, but just try to teach them how to independently evaluate things like that, who is paying for this, where is this coming from? Because if you don't empower people with those tools, then they don't necessarily know how to be a good voter. Everybody has the right to vote, but not everybody has the same ability in being able to decipher those types of messages.
Right. Tim, you heard T talk about she doesn't want to hear a lot of negativity, and that still goes into her vote. How about yourself? You were the one who was looking at sort of both sides of the ledger, positive things in 2016. How are you processing it this year?
Yeah, no, and I agree with that. The positive thing, so there's a Ruth Bader Ginsburg quote where she says, there should be 9 women on the Supreme Court at some point, because there's been 9 men before and nobody freaked out about that. Why not 9 women? And when I think about my daughters and my sons growing up, I think, isn't this great that we have 2 women that are really accomplished, really interesting lives, really great stories, and that they get to see that happen here, right? That's our unique thing. That's our cool thing that's happening.
Right.
So I love that about the race.
So by a show of hands, who plans to vote for Democrat Kyrsten Sinema in the Senate race? Okay. And show of hands, how many are voting for Republican Martha McSally? Okay.
I'm still undecided.
Still undecided. Okay, thank you. So let's discuss that a bit. Talk about how you ended up where you were. Has that changed since July? Is it, you know, it seems like it's a pro-cinema group here. What happened?
Well, for me, it was back to the personal attacks. McSally, I was looking at and checking out her voting record and what she's done. But then when they went out and made personal negative attacks, I mean, disagreeing with somebody's position, that's different. But personal negative, and that just completely changed my mind.
And
Okay.
the amount of mud getting flown about is ridiculous. That doesn't help anybody decide where they want to vote. It actually turns the voters away. And when it comes to independence, we will make or break this. If we show up, we could break blue. If we don't show up, we could break red. Who knows? We'll see what happens in the election.
Sophia?
Well, McSally did not stand up when they were putting babies in cages. Kirsten Sinema at least tried to pretend like that was not a good thing. I mean, it's not a good thing, and I don't understand why that's not obvious to everybody, but it isn't. So I think now with all of the corruption that is currently in the legislature, that you need somebody who's going to at least stand up to that, at least try to. And I don't think McSally, I think there's good things about the military and bad things about the military. I think she is being too much of a soldier, where she's just saying yes sir to who's above her, and she's not putting enough of her own thought into it, like, no, this is just not okay. And I don't think she has the spine for that, so I'm not going to vote for her.
Okay, Tim, you're still processing this. You said you're still undecided on it. What do you need to hear or see? What's going to, move you in the end?
Yeah, and I've been having a hard time with this one. Since the last time, the negative ads have all kind of come and get it. And I'm like, okay, do I want 30 million seniors to lose their health insurance, or do I want child traffickers to be defended, right? Like it's all negative. So trying to find the positive has been really difficult. And I typically, just for me, I typically don't make a choice until sometimes the morning of, when I'm getting ready to vote. Because I'm just like, gosh, they're trying to parse through everything and say, okay, what do I really like? What are they going to vote like? So Sinema, I think she's got an incredible story, and she's very, she loves the people that are the neediest. McSally, I kind of think, well, McCain was a fighter pilot. He did some great things for Arizona. There's some benefits that you get on the flip side of having someone with that kind of profile in Washington with you, the way McCain did. So I still kind of don't know.
Okay, is there any way that you don't vote?
Do you really think that Kirsten Sinema is for child trafficking?
No, I don't. Neither. I don't believe any of the negative ads. That's the thing. Like, they show up and you're like,
but
wow, this is a bad.
Why is that even allowed to be on TV when it's something that ridiculous?
Right, but it's the same as McSally isn't for seniors losing their health insurance either, right?
But she's not for defending. She's actually voted against it, though. See, there's a difference there. And I'm sorry, but I have to say this because I'm sick of the, both sides, false, whatever crap. I'm sorry, I just can't.
Okay,
It's
Sophia.
not.
Sophia's telling
not
it
the
like
same.
she really feels. Angelica.
Okay, so I'll be honest and say that
edit
I still, just because I am voting for Kirsten Sinema doesn't mean that I completely endorse everything that she does. I don't know her personally. I know people who do know her personally that we went to college with her, and she seems, again, I agree, she has an incredible story, and I'm proud of all of the things that she's overcome. But what makes me uncomfortable is I feel that as she's continued on in her sort of political journey, I feel like she's moved more to the center, and I don't really get that because she has more influence now. And I guess maybe my point is that, again, this is a great illustration of the frustration with the two-party system.
So now let's shift gears and talk about the governor's race for a moment. By a show of hands, who plans to vote for Republican Doug Ducey this year? Okay. Show of hands, who plans to vote for Democrat David Garcia this year? Okay.
I'm half raised.
Half raised?
Yeah,
Okay.
me too.
Tim, looks like
I'm
you're
the
still.
same way. I haven't decided.
Okay. What's it going to take for you to decide on the governor's race as well?
Well, the first thing that's going to have to happen is the Senate race is going to have to kind of cool off a little bit, because no other ads are getting to me. All I'm seeing are they've kind of sucked all the air out of the room. I think we were talking about this before, which is, it's a big race. It could turn either way, and it's two women running, which I think is fantastic. So I guess the thing is, to both the candidates, you guys got to get out there and get your message out, because no one else can hear what's going on.
Okay. This seems like a group that's mostly for David Garcia. Ken, you seem to have some hesitation, or what?
Well, I guess my disappointment is the fact that I'm
T, how about yourself? What moved you this year on this race?
Well, on this race, number one, I don't try not to follow the ads. I try to go to where they're speaking and doing debates where we can ask questions. I get a better feel for it. That's just me personally. But the Red for Ed movement, I said that made an impact on the races. This is one. David Garcia, my only problem with the gentleman is that he is a one-issue candidate, and he doesn't have a plan for them. Governor is bigger than that. I mean, it's details with a lot of things between immigration and keeping Arizona sound and growth and education. Ducey, once again, personal attack ads has alienated me on dealing with that. And his version of education, he wants to privatize. And so I've seen actions that have led toward that, and I don't believe in doing that with state tax dollars. But I'm iffy because I don't know that Garcia really has a plan, and I would like to hear him broader in speaking about other things so I could say, yeah, that's the one. I hate making a decision of the least of a worst decision.
Well, that's going to be my next question for you all, is how many of you are voting for David Garcia? How many of you are voting against Doug Ducey?
Against Ducey. Ever since Ducey's been in office, I have been dead set.
Anybody feel good about David Garcia as just on his own merits?
I mean, on that one issue, yes.
Okay.
I think he's great, but
I want to see more out of him. I want to see what he is besides his stance on Red for Ed.
That's the weakness of the Democratic structure in our state, is that they continue to put up one-issue candidates, and not only that, but they have to understand, it may not be fair, but personality matters. I mean, Steve Farley, I think, would have been a much stronger candidate, like by 1 million, but he didn't get elected through the primary. It's like ridiculous. Okay, fine. But I mean, because he had a plan on everything, and his personality could have stood up to Ducey. And I think, unfortunately, that's how a lot of people vote, is on personality.
Okay, last question. We hear from politicians and from reporters like me that this is a really important election. Is this election any more or less important to you than, say, the last election, or does it seem like any election?
I think that it's an important election. I don't know if it's less or more because of where we are nationally and socially and what we're doing. I kind of feel like we're in the nation's largest gang war. It's the Dems against the reps. You're either blue or you're red. She made a point of not liking the moderate. I like the moderate because then you're bringing in aspects of all sides to get yourself to a decision. I don't want to be part of a gang. I'm an independent. I want people to look at issues and come together and make the best decisions for all of us.
Well, thank you all for coming again, and thank you all for watching. This has been our independent voter panel, and you've heard from them. Thanks so much for watching, and stay tuned to The Gaggle for more.